Dan Hally back at the Warren District Project, just working on a couple different things here. One, just to follow up, this is a close-up of the really unusual rock that we're seeing, not only where we were at in the earlier videos from today, but here on location. So this just shows you the really unusual for these types of rocks to be layered like this. They're essentially laminated. Pressure and heat would have done that. And then you can see another layer there. It's almost like a glass layer, something like slag would be. So this is all just part of the complex figuring it out. So what we're doing now is, over the winter, we did a lot of modifications, a lot of changes to the separation processes. We processed, did test processing for the ore in the stockpile, taking different samples, sending them off for assays, all types of different things. Smelter tests, having buttons examined, XRF, just lots of different things. So what we're doing now is, now that we figured out the process and have tens of thousands of grams of concentrates ready to go, now we got to figure out the leach process, because this is so complex. So this would just be an example. So we're just trying different small batches and then see what's working. We're working with some different labs and some different folks on this process. So it's pretty complicated, but we're getting there. We got a pretty good idea of what's going to work. But what we have now, based on assays on the table feed or the ore, we have the gold and the silver, but we have all of the platinum group metals, all of them. And we're not talking traces. All of the platinum group metals are multi-ounce, same as the gold, same as the silver, based on the assay tests. So we've sent some additional samples off to a lab in Germany, just confirming things. And then the assays that were received back, which showed all of the PGMs, the gold and the silver. It's consistent with what we believe we're seeing once we crush the ore, pulverize it. It's what we believe we're seeing under the microscope, as well as some of the colors that we get when trying some different leach process. This is just a test with aqua regia, so it was essentially just 50 grams of concentrate placed in the aqua regia, and you can see the kind of a yellow color. It's very bright, vibrant yellow, almost an orange. And then in the bottom of the glass container is a real silvery type, appears to be metal particles, a layer of it. So what we know will go into aqua regia is gold and platinum. Those are the two things we know that we did. And before we put the concentrate in aqua regia, we did a test with we started with the 50 grams of the concentrate and put it in nitric acid. Nitric acid reacted with the cons, and just as some simple math, we essentially 6 grams of the 50 grams went into the solution. So what we do know is nitric acid, silver goes into nitric acid, where gold typically won't, the PGMs typically won't, and neither will platinum. So, which of course is part of the PGMs. But that is what we're doing. It's a complicated process. So we have lots of high grade cons that are ready to go. We just have to figure out the best way to extract them. What we do know is smelter is very ineffective, but that's why we're doing all this testing. That's what it's going to take, just because of the complexity of this ore. And for those of you not really familiar with different PGMs like iridium and osmium, typically those come from a meteor strike. And several months ago, actually last August, Steve Dobson talked to us about noticing some signs of geology in the area that he believed were indicative of a meteor strike. So he spent a lot of time working on it. We're seeing more and more. The rock I started with a video is just another piece of that puzzle. And then you have, we know we're within an impact zone from the Beaverhead strike. There appears to be a crater here, very large in nature. Of course, that's all theoretically. We have a lot of work to do to determine that. But then, you know, it helps really understand what we're dealing with and how to make the most of it and ensure that we're recovering the maximum amounts of precious metals from the ore. So that's what we've been up to. Bit of a long video, but I really wanted to give you an overview of what the work did this winter and where it has now. And again, all of this is still test phase. One of the things we've learned is we do not have to process a lot of ore to recover a lot of concentrates. That's important. So typically with the big mines, everybody wants to process tons per day. Well, this project is about ounces per day, and it's a lot of ounces, but it's got a lot of different precious metals, and we're working hard to figure it out. And with Guy Seiko here now, this is his specialty. He's been a fantastic addition to the team. We're working on it.